Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng delivered a special address suggesting that no one should have the privilege over the others and the world should not go back to the rules of the jungle. He made it clear that there are no winners in tariff and trade wars either. After that, French President Emmanuel Macron on Tuesday drew attention for his stern rebuke of U.S. President Donald Trump's threat to tariff 8 European countries opposed to his efforts to take over Greenland. On Wednesday, the state leaders and tech entrepreneurs continued to speak at the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum, including U.S. President Donald Trump. Many attending the meeting here in Davos are waiting to hear the messages coming out of that speech. At the same time, they are emphasizing the importance of dialogue and cooperation. Jean-Pascal Tricoire is chairman of Schneider Electric. As a leading European industrial tech company in electrification and automation, his organization is deeply engaged in China and other parts of the global market. He shares his insights on the renewal of European industries and how China is blazing the trail for global innovation. Lao Zhao, good to see you.
Very good to see you, as always.
The Chinese Vice Premier was giving a speech earlier on Tuesday, talking about China's approach with the rest of the world for economic growth. You were at a meeting with the Vice Premier right after that. Tell me more about whether the China approach and suggestions fit into your future growth agenda.
What China has defined with the 15th five-year plan is very clear as a direction. And we know where a company like Schneider can contribute. We can help our partners, our customers in China, communities in China, to get cleaner power, to get digitized, and to get the best of automation. And this is what we have been doing in China for the past 40 years. I had the privilege to start Schneider in China a long time ago, and I've seen our operations flourishing, but more important so, the relationship with numerous partners all over China who are day in, day out deploying our technologies.
Of course, the world is getting ever more fragmented, apparently. So what does that mean for your China operation? What does that mean for your cooperation with China for the rest of the world?
Look, we had that vision from the beginning that China is so large and it has so many specific needs and it has so many talents that we should develop in China for China and then for the world. But what it means is that today, not only we have 28 factories manufacturing in China with Chinese suppliers, products, systems, solutions, digital solutions that we sell to our customers, but also we have 10 R&D centers for innovation. And that innovation is first focused on the China market, developing a digital space, a power space, which is adapted to China's specificities, but also taking those offers to the world. So in a, what you say, a fragmented or bifurcated world, China, Schneider China, is a very autonomous company, able to develop in terms of R&D, industrialize, sell and service all the products and solutions which are the most adapted to the China market.
Very interesting. So that's an arrangement recently made?
That's something we put into place 25 years ago. You know, when you want to develop R&D, it's not something that you do that is operational the next day. You need to attract the talents, you need to train people on the best of your technologies, and then they will innovate. So every investment we do in China is for the next decades. We are opening at the moment 2 new factories. Yes. They will be here for the next decades. When you open an R&D center, it will be there for a long time, and we wish it to develop and to flourish and to be there forever. And then you develop partnerships, and partnerships are also long-term partnerships. But this doesn't stop the borders of China. As China is developing abroad along the Belt and Road, we are carrying those partnerships outside of China. And we are doing more partnerships with Chinese companies outside of China.
You hear policy punchlines from different parts of the world. For example, here in Europe, there has been talk about Europe independence.
Yeah.
In China, there has been talk about indigenous innovation.
Yeah.
In the United States, it's been talking about national security and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's my words. So how do you see these different rhetorics coming from different regions? And how do you, as a global company, try to work the system together so systematically it can work for you?
Look, it's Europe is big, China is big, so by definition, needs in Europe, needs in China that we are originated from different histories are not the same. So if you want to be relevant to your customers, you have to be fast, because customers want a solution for yesterday. They have no patience to wait for something that would take time to be adapted to their needs. So for us, would it be in Europe? Would it be in the US? But more so in China, which is moving so fast, what's important is speed and a very close contact with our customers. So we do it with local teams who make local decisions and who have their own capabilities to develop things. Now, if you look across Europe and China, what strikes me is that we have very common needs. We don't have natural resources, fossil fuels, right? So the natural need or the natural direction is to go electrical. At the end of the day, if you believe, and we believe that the future is electric, and China believes definitely that the future is electric, then there are a lot of directions for innovation that are put in or that are gathering our forces in the same direction. I also see that both China and Europe are very committed to decarbonization and sustainability, reconcile progress on sustainability for all. And this is probably the challenge of our generation. And what's exciting is that now technology, electrification, and digitization allow us to achieve more while using less of resources and actually being energy positive. And this is something we profoundly share as a direction between China, I would say Asia, and Europe. So great terrain of common innovation and common collaboration. And at the end of the day, climate change is not China or Europe. It's a common challenge and probably one of the biggest challenges of our generation.
That's Jean-Pascal Tricoire, chairman of Schneider Electric. Could business cooperation between China and Europe forge a new way forward? As a seasoned business person and observer, here's what he said to me during the exclusive interview. You developed your company in Asia, in China, but at the same time, you are certainly running all over the world, including here in Europe, where your home base is. How would you interpret the latest challenges Europe as a whole is facing, and what could that be translated into solutions provided by your company or your industry?
Number one, every geography has to change with time, right? Technology is moving, the balance of geopolitics are moving, so Europe is in an intense moment of questioning, of reformatting, of evolution. But it can be said, we can say that of most of the geographies today. Things are changing faster and faster. So Europe doesn't escape that global logic and needs to change. I personally, as a European, think that being Europe is really important because each country in Europe is too small to be relevant in a world of larger and larger countries. And if I look back at history, well, Europe has come a very long way, right? We have one currency. Most of our companies are completely trans-European. Most of our citizens now have a career or life across boundaries. So things have changed a lot. We always complain in Europe, it's probably one of feature of Europeans. There's been a lot of progress on that side. Then on the side of technology, in Europe, I see more integration, more simplicity, less regulation, more space to innovation, and more collaboration with other continents, including China.
Running a business with that nature as you just described, what are some of your suggestions if you are asked to the policymakers? Because right now we still see a lot of obstacles about cooperation.
I don't think there are those many obstacles for those collaborations. I think it takes a coalition of the willings, people who want to do things together. It's very difficult for any company to do by itself all across the world. When we started in China, and it's still the case today, by the way, we operated with a lot of joint ventures. And it's still today, and they are very successful. I think for Chinese companies to deploy across the world, it needs that approach of collaborate with local companies. It's clear that for a company like Schneider, we know how to work with Chinese companies. We've been working now for many decades in China, and we have a very large presence in China. We have 28,000 people in China. We are a very large company. We work with thousands of suppliers every day in China. So the capacity to deploy what's done in China outside of the world, I think, is the next phase of our history. Being able to work together outside of our borders on leverage technologies and carry them to customers.
AI, of course, at this moment, we see different approaches. US is more, so to speak, reaching the stars. China is more AI plus, as being indicated in the 15th five-year plan. But all of that needs energy. Yeah. And that is a key, especially with the establishment of data centers these days. So what does that mean for the streamline of your businesses? And how could you provide a razor-sharp service to your customers in China and beyond?
Well, I wouldn't qualify that as a razor-sharp service, but I would say wholly inclusive or all-rounded service to our customers. People who deal today with AI are dealing with very high tech, and they need full reliability, and they need a lot of power. So let's be simple, AI needs power. The first bottleneck to AI is power. And we today at Schneider, we are leading in the world and across all geographies in what is a powertrain that goes from the grid or power source to a server in a data center. It's actually 25% of our world business, growing very fast. And it's something we do with very different characteristics all over the world. And we love data center customers because, number one, this is the highest density of electricity on Earth per square meter. Number two, it's all digitized. Number three, it needs the highest level of security and reliability. And number four, those customers, they are very technological, so it forces us to innovate all the time. So we've been developing that business actually started that business in 2007, and today it's 1/4 of Schneider, and we are enthused by the capacity or the perspective for innovation that we see in the future in data centers. And by the way, some people are worried or concerned about the pressure on consumption of data centers, but actually if you apply, which we do, AI to smart buildings, smart manufacturing, smart infrastructure, then you get huge energy savings, which by far compensate for the supplementary consumption of AI. We estimate that the ratio is 4 to 6. For 1 kilowatt you spend in AI, you can earn 4 to 6 kilowatt in savings. So we can deploy technology to make the world more efficient and more sustainable.